All right, let's jump right on in. Managers and managing. As I said, I'm going to go through a lot of key terms here first, then I'll take time to explain it, and then we'll do a group activity. So the first one here is, what is management? But before we can even get to that definition, we need to take a step back and let's define organization. So organizations are collections of people organization. You'll get used to my bad handwriting. It'll all make sense later. Collections of people who work together and coordinate their actions to achieve a wide variety of goals or desired future outcomes.
We have an ID.
So, Shannon, will you help me move this desk, please? Thank you. Right up here, all the way up and down. Perfect. Thank you. Tanner and I just formed an organization. He didn't know it, but we're now partners in that particular organization. We were a collection of people. We worked together. We coordinated our actions and we achieved our goal. And our goal was what? Yes, move the desk. We were a collection of people that did that. We coordinated our actions. I gave them a few instructions. Let's go up, let's scoot it over. We did all of that, and that's simply what an organization is. It doesn't take any type of formal document and any type of long-term agreement. That was simply all an organization is. It's a collection of people that are moving forward, helping to achieve some type of collective some kind of collective goal. And we did just that. So then we have managers. And managers are the people responsible for supervising the use of an organization's resources to meet its goals. Our resources were our bodies, it was our hands, and I coordinated that. So I took on the role of manager in that, and I was responsible for helping us achieve that particular goal. And we use resources. Our resources this time, I said, was ourselves, people. The resources can be anything from people to machinery to raw materials, computers, patents, any of those types of things can be resources. I'm going to be using McDonald's in a lot of my examples today, but I love their French fries. And I don't know what they put in it, but that is one of their resources. It's one of the things that they have that they do better than many other places that I believe when they're making French fries. You can think of KFC and their secret recipe for their chicken. You can think of Coca-Cola and their recipe for whatever they're putting in Coca-Cola, that's syrup. So all of those can be considered resources as well. So then that leads us to this definition of management. We're going to use as our definition, management is the process of efficiently and effectively achieving organizational goals through the functions of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. It's a mouthful of a definition, but we're going to break it down for us in the next few slides. So management is the process of efficiently and effectively achieving organizational goals through the functions of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. So our next one here is organizational performance. How do we know if an organization is performing well? How do we know if our organization is performing well? So performance is a measure of how efficiently and effectively managers are using our resources, and it increases in direct proportion to efficiency and effectiveness. So let's go with those two. Efficiency and effectiveness. So efficiency then is getting the most out of those resources that we just talked about. So part of a manager's job is to make sure that they're getting the most out of their resources. And we can think of efficiency in terms of, for example, completing a task in the least amount of time and resources. So we want to complete as many tasks as possible in as little bit of time with as few resources as possible. We don't want to have a lot of waste. And our key term for efficiency is doing things right. We want to do things right. Effectiveness, on the other hand, is choosing the correct goals, strategies, and objectives. And we want to make sure that we're doing the right things. That's our phrase there. So you can think of doing things right, or excuse me, you can think of doing the right things, effectiveness, as almost a quality measure. Anybody know who? It's Ed. That's exactly right, from Good Burger. Nicole gets the A for the day. Anybody else knew that was Good Burger? Okay, this is Labor Day weekend. Your homework is to go watch Good Burger. Go watch that movie. Write it down. It's good. It stars Keenan and Kel. Real funny, iconic movie. They came out with a part 2. It was okay, but you got to watch that too. That's part of your homework. We're going to talk about another burger chain, and this one is McDonald's. Anybody been to McDonald's recently? No, you guys are too good to eat at McDonald's, what I'm hearing. This is the Chipotle crowd. Is that what this is? Okay, all right. I see how we have it here.
Expensive.
I don't see, normally in my classes, I see everybody with their waters. I see a few water bottles. Is that water? Anthony, is that water? It's water. That's what you're going to tell us at least. How about you, Jacob? What do you have?
Water.
Water. How about in Dallas? Do y'all have your water bottles there in Dallas as well? Yes, no? Anybody have water bottles? Yeah, I see somebody holding up a couple. Okay, good, good. So we all drink our water bottles like we're all fancy. So I guess McDonald's is too good. Oh, energy drinks for Cameron. No? Okay, all right. So maybe this group is too good for McDonald's. Well, if you go into a McDonald's nowadays, instead of somebody taking your order, you're probably going to get one of these kiosks. Anybody ever had to use these kiosks? All right, good. So we know what we're talking about. I use my app, which is my version of the kiosk. So do that quite often as well. And these for McDonald's are just what we were describing above. It's their way of achieving organizational performance or getting better organizational performance through efficiency and effectiveness. So how does that work? So there's an article that came out a couple years back, and it talked about how McDonald's self-serve kiosks changed the customer experience game. So this first statement here is in green because it's really talking about effectiveness. And we said effectiveness has to do with quality. McDonald's recognized that it had a little bit of a quality problem. And that's because a lot of their patties come frozen. So when they get there, when we get to McDonald's and we get these frozen patties, we feel is it over there? Yeah. No. Oh, there it is. Yes. All right. When we get to McDonald's, when we go to McDonald's, they have these frozen patties, and they were having to compete against restaurants like who does this well? Five Guys Burgers, or some other places. Maybe even Whataburger. I don't think theirs are frozen when we get them either. And so McDonald's realized they had a little bit of a quality problem. So they wanted to move the quarter pounder to be fresh beef. But they also knew that what McDonald's is really known for is speed. And that's an efficiency measure. So they wanted to increase their effectiveness, quality, but they knew that they had a problem because that was going to slow down their efficiency, which is speed. We could all argue that maybe McDonald's is still slow, but that's what they're supposed to be branded on, is their speed of putting you their food. So this says that early research shows that these burgers will take 1 minute longer to make, impacting the efficiency of its restaurants. 1 minute in McDonald's time can be a long time. When you're sitting in the drive-thru, 1 minute takes forever. It feels like forever, like you're not moving. And so during that lunch crowd, that's a problem. So then they decided technology might be able to help. So by introducing these kiosks, They have reduced the need for customers to wait in long queues at the service counters, resulting in faster service and shorter wait times. So, for example, I'll use my phone. If I order from my phone and I ordered a quarter pounder and I have my location turned on, then as I'm getting closer to the McDonald's, it would prompt them. Not when I got to the McDonald's, but as I got closer to it. You know, you have to turn on your location and do all that. But as you get closer, then they know you're almost there. Then they can get to start preparing the burgers. That 1 minute that they're preparing the burger could be when I'm still driving there, and that cuts that minute down for them and for me. And so now that wait time is shorter. For the kiosk purposes, if they only have one person taking the order, then they've got one line with 7 people. If they've got these kiosks up, there's 2 kiosks on each side. There's probably about 8 people that can take their order at this particular time here. And that way, it doesn't feel like everybody's waiting in line. They can cook the burgers quicker. They know what the demand is. They can get it done a little bit faster. So that's how restaurants are using this idea of efficiency and effectiveness. And that's how businesses do that. All right, let's keep going. How do we classify managers? So we'll start at the bottom of this pyramid here. And the bottom one is called non-managerial employees. Non-managerial employees is at the bottom of the totem pole. My first job was at McDonald's. I did not want this job at all. It was the summer, and my mom said, you got to get a job. And so I went to look for all these other places. I went to Baskin Robbins because that was cooler. I went to the movie theater, and I'd get all dressed up like I'm looking good, and I'd walk into the movie theater and I'd say, hire me, please. And I'd fill out the applications, and I never got any calls back. So we're driving home from church one Sunday. We're passing by our local McDonald's. This is in Oklahoma. And we see this big now hiring banner out front. And my mom looks at me and says, son, by the end of this week, you better have a job at McDonald's. And I'm like, oh, this is horrible. And it's the week of my birthday. And I'm thinking this is going to be horrible. So I walk into McDonald's. I don't dress up at all. I wear the ugliest pair of jeans I can find and a t-shirt. And I fill out the application. And I'm hoping they just don't turn me away. And they hired me on the spot. They're like, when can you start? And I said, whenever you need me. And of course, they chose my birthday to start. So I started McDonald's, and it was the best experience. I am so happy. Anybody ever worked at McDonald's? Yeah, Anthony gets an A for today too. Anybody else? It's great. It's a great experience, a great learning experience. How about fast food in general? Anybody done fast food in general? Okay, all right, we're in the same family there. I think it's a great way to learn about business in general, and my experience was really good. So non-managerial employees is what we were at that particular time. Then we moved up one level, and you might become a first line manager. First line managers. First line managers train and supervise non-managerial employees, and they're responsible for things. They have different names like office manager or shift supervisor or department manager. I had a great first line manager at McDonald's. She was really awesome. She took me under her wing. She said, okay, I'm going to start you out with just cleaning the bathrooms and cleaning the floors and cleaning the countertops. And then she said, all right, now I'm going to graduate you too. Now you're going to learn about when the truck comes in every morning at 6 a.m. This is before McDonald's was open all day. So maybe it was like 4 a.m. But so I had to get there that early to help unload the frozen truck and put it all in there. And that was fun and not fun all at the same time. And so then I went from there to running one of the drive-through windows and taking orders. And I did get my food handler's permit that summer as well. So I learned how to do the fries, make the fries and make sure we had enough fries for lunchtime. And then she moved me over to breakfast. And so I was running the breakfast crowd right up into the lunch crowd. I would get them prepped for lunch, and then that would be the end of my shift. So I had a really good first line manager. She really showed me the ropes, taught me a lot that summer. It was really good. And that's what first line managers do. They train and supervise non-managerial employees. From there are these people called middle managers. Middle managers manage the work of first line managers. They set objectives consistent with top management's goals, and they're sometimes called plant managers, or regional managers, or divisional managers. A lot of time, middle managers are the ones for setting schedules as well, work schedules. Sometimes that's done by first line managers, but a lot of times that's done by middle managers. So they set schedules for when people are going to work, making sure we have enough workers to get the job done. They keep track of resources a lot of time to make sure that we have the resources we need to complete whatever we need to complete. Speaking of fast food, have you ever been to like Kentucky Fried Chicken and they've run out of chicken? That is the dumbest thing to me. I don't understand. This is your one job, is to make chicken. How do you run out? That's a planning problem. And that could be what middle managers might be responsible for, making sure that we have enough resources available for us to get the job done. And then the top group here are called just top management. We could call them top managers. These we call the C-suite. And it could be CEO, COO, CFO, CIO, Chief Executive Officer, Chief Operating Officer, Chief Financial Officer, Information Officer. So these are the C-suite, and this is the group of people that do a lot of the planning and the goals for the entire organization. They've got a lot of people that report through them, maybe not directly, but report in their line a lot of times, and they're responsible for making sure that the work gets done well. My middle manager at McDonald's was not very nice. I only met her on the very last day, and my very last day of working that summer. And my first line manager is walking me around and just letting everybody say goodbye. And this was like that morning before my shift really was getting going. And so she knocks on the middle manager's door and she says, "Hey, this is Alex's last day." And she goes, "Oh, well, that's great. Well, why don't you just go ahead and leave now?" And I was like, "I got fired on my last day. So what just happened here?" So she really wasn't all that nice. I don't know what her problem was, but I enjoyed my time at McDonald's. I recommend it to anybody. I'm going to keep flying through these so we can have time to get through our group project. But the next one here are the 4 functions of management. I'm writing this down as short answer. This is my way, as I said earlier, of giving you the questions on the exam. Your job is just to memorize everything. I'm giving you the questions that are going to be on the exam. So this you will see in a section called short answer. The question will be, what are the 4 functions of management? And there will be a blank space. And in that blank space, you will write planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. How many of your professors so far this week have told you exactly what's going to be on your exam? That's what I thought. One of them has? Me. Somebody else did that too? They're stealing my method. Chris. Dr. Myers did that? Burns. Chris Burns did it. Okay, all right. He's just being nice. Guess who we learned from? Me. So we're giving you the answers right here. All you have to do is study it. All you have to do is memorize it. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to know, at least for this section. Some of the other ones might be a little bit tricky. Planning, organizing, leading, and controlling are the 4 functions of management. Planning has to do with, I'm going to go on this slide. Planning has to do with identifying goals, establishing objectives, and implementing action plans within the constraints of the organization. So I am currently the department head for management and economics, but I'm also going to talk about my time as the president of a soccer club called Tennessee Rush. And then I'm going to just talk about commerce in general. So in this idea of planning, we need to make sure that we understand what our organization's goals are. And we need to set those goals. What is our mission? What do we intend to do? What are our goals? So with my soccer club, I said that I didn't necessarily want to have the biggest soccer club, but I wanted to be known as having the best soccer club. And we had to figure out ways to measure that. And so we were going to measure it by the number of players we had on state teams. So sometimes they put out those all-state players, that sort of thing. For high schools, we wanted to make sure our players were in those, like all-American type things. We also wanted to make sure that we had players in the Olympic development system. That's a thing for soccer where your youth players can have a chance to play for the national team. We wanted to make sure that we had players going to college. We wanted to make sure we had so many tournament victories and we're finishing top 3 in our leagues. So we set goals for ourselves like that. Now, with our success, we figured the number of players would also grow, but we weren't just wanting to be a big club. We wanted to be a really good club within the state. Commerce sets goals. One of the goals we set was increasing our enrollment of our high school partnerships. So we wanted to increase enrollment, and one way we thought we could do that, the goal for getting that done, was to increase our high school partnerships. So that's a plan that we set for ourselves. Then we move on to organizing. Organizing has to do with delegation of tasks of different individuals and work groups and grouping activities and employees so that tasks can be performed efficiently and effectively. We're all coming back to those same terms. So how do we get this done? The organizing phase is how do we actually get the work done? So in my soccer club, what we said we were going to do is make sure that our structure was such that we were hiring good coaches. We were training those good coaches, and then our directors would get out and work with those coaches and those players to make sure their skill levels were where they needed to be. We were going to offer extra skill sessions for our players as well. So we had all these ways we were going to make sure our players were getting proper training. For Commerce, what they did in order to increase these high school partnerships, we went out and hired a high school coordinator. So there's somebody on campus now, and it is her job. Her name is Nikki. It's Nikki's job to make these connections with the high school. And they were very strategic about it. They went to someone that actually worked in the high schools, knew our school very well, and had a good relationship with the other high schools in our area so that we could form these partnerships with them to teach high school classes, get our high school students over here a lot more to see our classroom and our campus before it was time for them to graduate. And so there were things like that that she was going to be able to do. I kind of moved already into this leading phase, but that's what Nikki does. She meets with high schools. She has us teaching high schools. She has our deans going out to give presentations at high schools. So she's forming these relationships so she can get to know the students. And that's the leading part. That's motivating and directing employees towards the achievement of organizational goals. That's the doing part. When it's time to get the work done, that's that leading part. From my perspective as a coach and as the president, I had to motivate my coaches, whether it was making sure they had proper gear, making sure I was keeping them informed of what our plan was as an organization, talking to them all the time, going to the players and motivating them. That's getting the work done, and that's the leading part. And then the last part of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling, the 4 functions, is controlling. We need to measure and say, did we achieve our organizational goals? Did we actually do it? If we did, good. We continue with that plan or we make some tweaks. If we didn't, then we might need to figure out which step are we missing. Was it in the planning phase? Did we not get the right coaches in there? What needs to change in order for us to achieve our goal? So controlling is not me telling other people what to do. Controlling has to do with us measuring how effectively and efficiently we achieved our organization's goals. So going back to the Commerce example for the enrollment, we're going to check enrollment. Did our enrollment increase? Did those students come from the high schools that Nikki targeted? She's got schools all across the DFW area that she's trying to bring into our programs. So did that actually work? And we compare before she joined and then after she joined to see what happened. And if we're seeing an uptick in enrollment. We have to give her a couple of years because she was kind of targeting sophomores and juniors, not only seniors. So the next few years, we should see more and more students from the high schools that she's targeted, and hopefully they're here on campus and are joining our school. So planning, organizing, leading, and controlling are the 4 functions of management. You can also describe management in terms of managerial roles. This is another short answer. What are the 3 primary managerial roles? The first one is called interpersonal. second one is called informational. And the last one is called decisional. Interpersonal, informational, and decisional. We'll talk about what these are in the next couple of slides, but this is the short answer portion. That's the one you're gonna have to answer. But there's also a bonus to this. And these are not listed, I don't think, on your handout. So if you're interested in getting the bonus points, you may want to write these down. So in the interpersonal phase, what managers are doing is they are communicating and interacting with others. That's interpersonal. And they can do that through three different ways. They can be a figurehead. That's one of the bonus. They can be a leader, or they can be a liaison. So as a figurehead, they perform ceremonial duties. As leaders, they motivate and encourage workers. And as a liaison, they deal with people outside of their organizational units. So anybody recognize the person in this picture? Anybody know who that is? Dr. Rudin. We see him walking around campus all the time. He's our university's president. And in this role, he does a lot of different things. For example, as a figurehead, one of the tasks he has to perform is going to graduation and shaking everybody's hand. Everybody's hand. That, to me, is the best way to spread germs. Don't you think? If you really think about it. So hopefully he stays well and uses a lot of hand sanitizer that day. But that's one of the roles he performs. He's as a leader, he's also going out and he's talking to people outside of our organization. He's leading people within the organization. He's forming partnerships with different other educational partners. So all of these things are his interpersonal things. This is probably even a more figurehead thing here as well. He's signing an agreement with another college or another president of a college to do some type of teaching back and forth. And what's interesting here is that we all know that once they sign it, the real work begins. So this might be even another figurehead type of thing, but it's all having to do with communication and interpersonal skills. So those are three of the bonuses there. Another three would be his role as informational, his information role. And this just has to do with information, acquiring and delivering it. Managers monitor. They are also disseminators of knowledge. And they're also spokespeople or spokesperson. They monitor, they disseminate, and they're also a spokesperson. So this is just sharing information. All of these have to do with sharing information. So one big job that managers do is that they have to know what's going on within the environment that the organization. They also have to be able to collect this information and share it with others within their organization. And then they need to be able to share what's going on within our organization with others outside of our organization. What's great about our university, Dr. Rudin should be able to share that with potential donors or whoever else he's talking to. So he can collect information, he can bring that information to us, so he can take our information out into the world. The last four fall up under the decisional, which is solving problems. And in this role, managers act as an entrepreneur, a disturbance handler, a resource allocator, and a negotiator. entrepreneur, disturbance handler, resource allocator, and negotiator. All of this has to do with decisional, which is solving problems. As an entrepreneur, managers have to adapt our organization to change. As a disturbance handler, managers need to make sure that they understand how to handle issues that come up, whether it's an issue with faculty or something that's going on across campus. Managers have to make a lot of decisions about a lot of different things, and being that disturbance handler is a big one. How do they allocate resources? We've talked about that as well, being a big deal. How do they allocate resources? And then how are they a negotiator? And that's schedules or projects or whatever else is going on within the organization. All right. Finally, we have the skills of managers. Guess what I'm writing? Short answer. Start memorizing. The managerial skills, the main three that you need to know are technical. That's hard to see, so I'll write it over here. Human and conceptual. So what are we talking about here? Managerial skills have to do with the three basic skills that managers must use. The first one has to do with job-specific skills. Managers are required to know and understand whatever it is that their people are working with. Now, does that mean I have to have hands-on detail with it? No. If I am managing a group of coders, I don't have to fully understand coding in order to do that. It helps if I can speak their language, but I don't have to know it completely. I just have to have that general understanding so that I can relate with them and help them get their job done. That's the technical skill. The human skill is understanding people and how people might need to be led differently, how I might need to alter my behavior based on the particular people that I'm working with, that sort of thing. And then the last part is the conceptual side. As a manager, I need to be able to analyze and diagnose a situation. So this conceptual is very close to what we were just talking about previously, which is being a problem solver. So technical, human, and conceptual skills. There's bonus to this one as well. So I gave you the basic three, but you can also break this down into technical, adaptive, human, which we already talked about, which again is very close to those interpersonal skills that we talked about before, conceptual, diagnostic, and the last one is political. I'm not going to go through each definition of this one, just in the interest of time, but this is how you can start thinking about some of those memory techniques. Came up with something that CAHCDP. What was it we had to do in school for the orders of operation, PEMDAS? Anybody remember that? Yeah, so think about those types of things. If you need some help trying to memorize some of these, you can come up with one of those. That would be great. If you want to share it with your classmates to help them, that's perfectly fine as well. So technical, adaptive, human, conceptual, diagnostic, and political. And so those are the other skills of management. What you find is as you start out, these technical skills are very important because your first thing is probably going to be that first line manager. And as a first line manager, I'm managing non-managerial employees, and I'm trying to help train them. So I need to know and be very sharp on my technical skills at that point. When you move up the organization a little bit, you start dealing more with just people more than technical things. So I don't need to necessarily know how to code, but I need to understand people and work schedules and being nice and understanding that people do get sick or their child might get sick. And these are all these human skills that come into play. How do you motivate people? And then finally, as you move up into that top management, that's when conceptual skills. How do we take this huge organization that we have, like McDonald's, and we say, we have a problem with efficiency and effectiveness, and the best way for us to handle that is by increasing our technology to help us get people through the drive-through and through lines faster, but still save money and still save time. How do we think about this huge concept like that? And then that's a conceptual skill that top level managers have to deal with more often. All right, that ends our slideshow.